Hello, Don.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
You have been firefighter. Can you say us what happened that you quit this job?
Well, I retired from the fire department after 21 years of service. And the only reason I left the job is because I considered the firefighters as being the second best job in the world. Mm-hmm. Of course, I went to the very best job in the world, which was to preach the gospel full-time for Christ. So it was, for me, it was an attitude of leaving one career of saving people from physical fires in their homes or buildings, and having that great opportunity to do that, to preaching the gospel, which I believe really saves men and women from the fires of hell. And they both have the same goal, to bring people out of a very dangerous situation into a very safe place. I was trained to be a firefighter to rescue people, and that training actually applied very well to preaching the gospel, because I see it as really rescuing people. And I like to preach in that manner that, time is short. I don't care how old you are, time is always short. We need to get our act together. We need to get our relationship with Christ, top priority in our lives.
So, what is the condition of men in church today?
Well, unfortunately, Christianity is very much dominated with a feminine spirit. Most of the major religions in the world are dominated by men. The number of men that go to Jewish temple and the men that go to Muslim mosques and the Buddhists, the majority of the worshipers are men. And that's a good thing. And actually, Christianity used to be majority men, but in the last few hundred years, we've turned it around a little, and the majority of worshipers are women and children. And because of that, most men feel somewhat uncomfortable in church. Most men want a spiritual life. They know they need this spiritual life, but they don't want to lose their masculinity. And entering into the average Catholic church in the United States, at least, and I see it in Europe, men feel a little bit threatened in their masculinity, and feel like if they really want to be a strong Christian, that means they have to give up their manly ways. And it's just a lie from the pit of hell, but it's a lie that's permeated the Christian churches. And now we're in a place where it's very difficult to evangelize men. I've been working in men's ministry over 20 years, and it's very hard to sustain a growth pattern in men's ministry. But I think we absolutely need to concentrate on evangelizing men for the church. The women aren't going to be happy if there's an imbalance either. And certainly it's very difficult to keep our children to come to church. Most of the children, once they receive confirmation, it's like graduation, they leave the church and don't come back. And it's because the father isn't there. There's no male image to hold him there. And if it's not important to dad, it must not be important. So we need to change the view for the church for everyone's sake, for men, women, and children.
So how we can change this? What's your suggestion?
Oh, there's some little things that the church needs to do. I think our music especially needs to be sung on an octave that most men can sing. Unfortunately, most of the songs are sung at about 5 octaves too high for men to even get to. And we're singing 500-year-old songs, and I think we need to, for young men especially, we need to sing more modern songs, and just have the atmosphere around where men feel more comfortable. One of the problems is we need men to feel more manly, and in most of the worship services we have more filled with women than men. And so I think there's a real need to have these men's meetings, men's conferences, things like that, so that men have an opportunity to get together. And if we do that for a number of years, I think we can bring the numbers back to an even keel, so that men feel more comfortable in church. The things we advertise, one of my concerns is that we tell me where you put your money, and I'll tell you what's important to you. And the church spends a lot of money on the poor, which they're supposed to. That's our first call. but they spend money on children and women. But I ask most bishops around the world, and I ask them, how much money do you spend on men's ministry? And they say, nothing. You know, that's generally the thing, because, you know, there is no real good, strong men's ministry in most dioceses. But you have to put something in, and I encourage the bishops to, you know, start paying some money in to buy some materials that will attract men. There are movies out and things like that they can have movie nights for men to come to. All these kinds of activities. It does cost something for the diocese, but it's well worth it. It's a good investment.
Mm-hmm. You have proposed program 72 Hours to Resurrected Life. What is it about?
Well, I think I hope it's a plan from the Holy Spirit. That just a while back, Cardinal Dziwisz from Krakow asked me to establish an international men's ministry, and I went to Rome with my pastor, and we are making inroads to establish this. And after that request, I really asked the Lord to show me how to set up a system that would be workable. And I come up with a 72-hour plan, because it took 72 hours for Jesus, in the sense it took 3 days for Jesus to rise from the dead. And that's 72 hours. And so if a man can give 72 hours a year to Jesus Christ, he'll have a resurrected life. How we do it, my plan is that just once a month, for 2 hours, they go to a men's meeting where they have some discussion groups and a little bit of prayer and some discussion groups just on manly subjects. We have materials for those kinds of meetings. And then once a year, they go to a 6-hour all-day conference, so that where they have some good male speakers that are going to stir their hearts and bring them closer to Christ. And then the one thing that I'd really like to see men do is to take a weekend retreat. Go away on an all-men's retreat, and from Friday night till Sunday noontime, so they have an opportunity to really spend some time with Jesus. I find that really turns men's hearts around if they can do that. Most men have never been on a retreat in their life in the United States, most Catholic men. So I encourage that experience, because our goal is that every man has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We don't want to invite them to church. They left church, a lot of them. We want to invite them to Jesus Christ. When they meet Jesus Christ, then they'll be eager to go back to church. They may complain about the church and all the problems in the church and things like that, because they don't have a relationship with Christ. Once you have a relationship with Christ, you recognize that He established the church, and the church is a gift from God to us. So my goal is to see that men get a personal relationship with Christ, come into the solid relationship with the Catholic Church, and build the body up so that most men would be comfortable just coming to church on Sundays.
So thank you, Don.
Thank you, Andre.
And God bless you.
Yep.